Oh, I seem to be on. Oh. I am the Doctor, and this is Dr. Tiny, and today we will be speaking about Dimetrodons. Now, the largest No, I know you're not doing this era. I know... Yes, I know the computer cannot affect reality. So... something else is happening. Well, I suppose you can always fix it in post, but... well... whatever was happening seems to have sorted itself out. Alright, I suppose we just continue recording then? Alright. Hello. I am the Doctor, and this is Dr. Tiny. And today, I will be telling Dr. Tiny and you about Dimetrodons. Now, the largest Dimetrodon was the Dimetrodon angelicis. It was about 4.5 meters long, and it was a carnivore that lived in the Permian. Now, compared to Dr. Tiny, this is what the Dimetrodon, the largest Dimetrodon, would look like. But since Dr. Tiny is not proportioned like a human, I shall use a standard human measurement to give you a better idea of what a human next to a Dimetrodon would look like. I think I'd be maybe a little taller than the sail there. One of the most interesting things about Dimetrodons is that even though they look very much like dinosaurs, they are much more closely related to you and I than they were to the dinosaurs. Let me unpack that with the help of my time stick. I had Jester make this for me. It goes from the Cambrian to the Quaternary. So we are in this little pink area at the end, which isn't even to scale. It should be a little smaller, but Jester has never been very accurate with a saw. For comparison, this turquoise bit is the Cretaceous period, and it can take up everything after that happened. But today we are going to be speaking first of the Carboniferous and then of the Permian, which is where the Dimetrodons lived. So, Dimetrodons. More closely related to humans than they are to dinosaurs. This is because the Dimetrodons were not even reptiles. Back in the Carboniferous, the land animals were all amphibians, and they had to live near water to keep their skin moist so they can breathe, and so that they can lay their eggs in it. But to move inland, they needed to make adaptations. And this didn't go just to the reptiles. First was the ammonoots. And these had generally, scalier skin so that they didn't need to be moist all the time. And the shells of their eggs would be either hard or leathery to keep the moisture in, so that they could move further inland. But then the ammonoots, somewhere in here, split into two groups, the reptiles and the synapsids. The reptiles, of course, went on to become the dinosaurs and the reptiles we know today, and also birds. The synapsids, on the other hand, branched out into other things, the more reptile-like ones, and also, eventually, the mammals. So really, most synapsids were fairly reptile-like. They were, bandy-legged, scaly, claws. And the only differences really between them and reptiles were very boring things like how many holes in the skull and tooth shape. Now, synapsids were the dominant life form on Earth in the late Paleozoic. They dominated during the Permian. Reptiles weren't really much of anything yet. But then, late in the Permian, there was another split. Ira, can I get a cladogram set up? Fantastic. As you can see, there are 7 steps that we know of between the Aminota split and where the Sphenacotidae split off. We, being mammals, are in the Therapsida group, while the Dimetrodons went 4 steps another way. And then, the Therapsida were the only synapsids to survive through the Triassic period. There were another 20 steps to mammalia forms and then to mammals, but this was fairly quick on the geologic scale. And now, we mammals are the only surviving members of the Synapsida. The mammalia forms appeared probably in the early Jurassic, and mammals may have appeared fairly soon after or a little later on, depending on which scientist you ask. And so while we may not be super closely related to Dimetrodons, they're more like great-great-granduncles, but we are still more closely related to them than they are to dinosaurs. And for those who think that humans are particularly special and top predators, we are more closely related to rats than we are to lions and wolves. Makes sense, really. Clever hands, prehensile tails, social. The major carnivores are more closely related to their prey than they are to us. Farewell.